Hey guys, welcome back to the Art Studio. This is just another tutorial on the kind of things that artists do when they're really just starting out and learning how to be an artist. The last video I showed you was the color wheel and the value scale. This video is going to be about shapes. So if you look at any drawing or painting, and we can take a look, we just looked at this, but if you take a look at any drawing or painting and the thing that's in it, you're going to notice that there's lots of different shapes. And so if you can understand shapes and how they're 3D and how you can add value to them, then you're taking a huge step into to a big part of being an artist. So what I would suggest is actually learning how to make shapes look 3D. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make a horizon line. And actually, let me see if I can find a ruler, because a ruler would actually be really good for this. Just bear with me while I try to find my stuff. You know what? I'm just going to use just the straight edge from this picture. That will work. So horizon line is technically, if you're drawing something from outside, it's where the sky meets the earth. But we're not doing like a landscape, but the horizon line is still important for perspective drawing. So I'm going to draw a horizon line. There's my horizon line. I'll just set that aside. And then I need a vanishing point, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen like a street, but it is, well, obviously you've seen a street, but I don't know if you've noticed how the edges of the street go together, and they finally almost touch. So the vanishing point is that point where everything sort of goes to. So I'm going to make a vanishing point anywhere on the horizon line. It's really anywhere. I'm going to put mine right here. Okay. And it's really important to use a ruler for this project, just because it makes things a lot easier, or a straight edge. And then you're going to just draw either a triangle, a rectangle, any sort of polygon. Circles are different. I can show you circles on the back of this paper, but I really just want to show you like adding value to shapes to make them look 3D. So I am going to just draw just like a square. We'll say my square, it could be anywhere on the paper, by the way. My square is right here. A rectangle, it's going to turn into a rectangle. And technically the square is in front of the horizon line, so you wouldn't see the horizon line through it. So I'm going to erase this. Okay, and then the corners of the square are going to go toward that vanishing point. So I'm going to draw very lightly. Make sure you're drawing lightly so you can erase, because you will erase later. I'm going to draw these lines. And then I'm going to decide how far back my square or my cube goes now, because it looks like a cube. And that line is going to be straight up and down, just like these. Okay, and this is part of the cube, so it's in front of the horizon line. And then the rest of these lines can go. Okay, so once you have your cube shape drawn, you're going to think about the light source. So where's the light hitting it from? Oh, whoops. Where's the light coming from? And you can just kind of think about anywhere above the horizon line. You can think about where the light is coming from. I'm going to say the light is, let's say it's right here. So I'm going to just kind of draw a sun to remind myself, hey, that's the light source. So what I'm going to think about is that value scale that we drew earlier. I'm going to think, well, if the light is hitting it from here, which side is going to be darker, which side is going to be lighter. So if the sun or the light source is hitting it here, this one's going to be lighter than this one. So I'm going to choose one of these darker ones to color in here, and then one of these lighter ones to color in here. So maybe I'm going to do, you know, like not super dark, but maybe just after that super dark value, and I'll color that in. And actually shading is kind of fun because you can smudge it with your finger, make it look smooth. There we go. And I don't think that this side of the cube would be completely white, just because it's not, the light source wouldn't be directly hitting it. It would actually be hitting the other side of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to leave this completely white. I'm going to choose maybe just like a lighter value than the one that I just did. And this is just a trick that I do for coloring in to make it look even. I go kind of color outside the lines, and then I erase anything that isn't inside that shape. It makes it look really smooth. And if you smudge with your finger, you can kind of think of that type of thing too. So if you kind of smudged outside the lines, just go ahead and erase it. Okay, so that's one square. I could do more squares. I could do maybe a triangle. So let's try a triangle. So I'll draw a triangle maybe right here. Oh, whoops, I'm going to use my straight edge. Triangle. And it doesn't have to be like a perfectly equilateral triangle. Okay, and now you're going to think about those lines that go to the vanishing point, so that point right there. So I'm going to take my straight edge and I'm going to draw a very light line toward that. And just to give you a tip, you would do every corner, but if the corner like overlaps, if you're putting it toward that vanishing point and this corner overlaps any of the shape, then you wouldn't do it because you're not going to see that side of the shape. Okay, so my next step is to take whatever angle this bottom one is. So right here, this was a straight one. And I'm going to go down and figure out how deep or how wide or maybe how narrow my shape is. So I'm going to go maybe right here. And then I'm going to erase the rest of this. Okay, so there's my triangle, my 3D triangle here. Okay, and now you just got to think about that light source. So if the light is coming from this direction, then I'm not going to see that side of that triangle. And then I feel like this one might be darker than this one. So I'm going to color in, because I'm just kind of thinking about light. This one feels like it would be darker. So I'm going to color that in darker, depending on where your light source is. If your light source was here, then really you could put, actually, you don't have to put the light source on the top. I just suggest doing that because that's kind of how it is in nature. But if you were to put your light source here, obviously this would be like a white value, and this might even also be a white value. Okay, so you're kind of just looking where the light is hitting. So here, I don't think that would be completely white, so I'm going to color that in too. And it's going to make it look 3D. Okay. Let's see. What's another one I could do? You know what? I will do, let's do a pentagon. So a 5-sided shape. And this one's going to be big. And for you to get the best bang for your buck, I would suggest kind of filling this paper with shapes. For the sake of your time, I'm going to end this video after I show you, well, I'll show you this pentagon, but I'll also show you how to shade. A circle or a sphere is what the 3D version of a circle is. And then you can try it at home. And I really hope that you guys send me some of your work so I can see it. Okay, so now I'm going to think about my corners. Okay, so that's one that doesn't overlap with the shape. So I'm going to draw a line very lightly, and you might cross over other shapes. So if you do, make sure you're doing it very lightly and erase it after. Okay, so there's one. This isn't overlapping my pentagon, so I can draw this line. Okay, this one isn't, this line isn't overlapping the shape that I'm doing, the pentagon, so I can draw that line. Let's see, is this one overlapping the pentagon? Yes, so I'm not going to draw that line. Is this one? Yes, so I'm not going to draw that line. Okay. All right, so the pentagon, you want to think about how thick it is. So I'm going to decide from each side of my shape. So I'm going to go at the same angle as one of the sides, and I'm going to bring that maybe about there. Same angle here, and I'm going to stop that where I stopped the other one. Okay, so it's like looks like a birdhouse now. Okay, I can erase these other lines right here. And this pentagon is in front of the horizon, so I'm going to, the horizon line, so I'm going to erase that line. Maybe make these darker so you can see it better. Okay, and then the overlapping lines that went over this shape, I'm just going to kind of smudge those in and make it look like they're not there anymore. Okay, and so now you're going to think about that light source. I think this is going to be the darkest because it's on the other side. So maybe this one it would even be like the darkest my pencil can go. Because that's pretty far away from the light source, right? So there's that. Okay, and then I'm going to think about this other shape. Okay, it's still kind of far from the light source, but it's not as far as this one, so it's going to be lighter than this shape. Maybe I'll make it about here. And then I'll smudge these to make them look a little smoother. And then this one, I don't think that would be completely white because the sun or the light source isn't directly hitting it. So I'm going to make this one the lightest, but still not white. Smudge that in, and then erase outside the lines to make it look like I didn't color outside the lines. Okay. And it's making these look 3D, and it's making it look like they all belong to the same place. Just one more tip before I talk about the sphere. If you want to darken these lines, it's going to add to your piece. It really will. It's going to make it look, especially those ones that are in shadow. I wouldn't so much do it on the ones that are hitting the light, but like this one here, since it's going into shadow, if I darken that up, it's going to add a little bit more value. Right here, right here. Okay, and then for this one, I'd darken this line a little bit more, and this line. Okay. So one more thing I'll show you is the sphere. So I'm going to start with a circle. See if I can trace something actually. I don't want to draw like a big circle. That's a little too big. Let me find something really quick. too big. That's too small. Oh, yeah, this will be good. So I'm just going to trace this circle here. And I'm going to put it underneath the horizon line. But you don't need to worry so much about the vanishing point with the circle, which is why I didn't really talk about them at the same time. Okay, but you will think about the light source. Okay, so the light source is coming from here. So my lightest light of the sphere is going to be like right here. My darkest dark is actually not going to be right here because there's something called reflective light. So like the sun or the light source is hitting the surface and it's reflecting some of the light back right here. So my darkest dark is actually going to be more like right here. And the best way to shade this shape is to do it because it's a sphere, kind of shade or color it in like a circular sort of pencil marks. Okay, so this is my lightest light, this is my darkest dark. This isn't completely white, this reflective light, so I'm just going to color that in a little bit right here. And I'm just going to slowly get lighter as I get to that highlight, which is the lightest light, with these circular pencil marks. And if you notice that it's looking a little choppy, like mine is looking really kind of choppy, then you can smudge it out with your finger and it makes it look a lot smoother. Remember, when you're drawing, you're going to draw light until it's right. So this line that I drew right here to show the highlight, I drew it really lightly, because if you draw it dark, it's going to look really weird. So make sure you're not drawing those lines dark. Okay. All right, so here's this. I'm going to make some of these values a little darker over here. It's going to make it look nice and 3D. A little bit lighter over here because of that reflective light. And then I'm going to go ahead and smudge it with my finger because I want to smooth it out. And if you notice that because you smudged it with your finger, you've lost some of that highlight, you can take the eraser and erase the highlight back. And if you lost some of that reflective light, you can erase it back. Okay. So that is the shape project, sort of study or practice thing. So what I would suggest is filling this with shapes. And if you want to try the sphere, that's kind of a cool challenge to do. All right, guys, have fun with this. Send me your work so I can see the awesome stuff you're doing. Thanks, you guys.